connections, it can enable them to know the underlying causes and how these youngsters they're going to communicate with all these people in SYPD. So I think this can enhance the capacity and the service of our project.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, honorable judges, and everybody else. My name is Vivian. I'm from HKU, and today we're going to present on the Sustainable Youth Development Partnership. In Tanzania, the youth are made up of the locals who were actually born there, as well as the non-locals. And so what they see in these youth centers set up by the SYDP is that they see a sense of community, particularly for those who are not actually from Tanzania. These people see the youth centers as a place where they can group together, where they have a sense of solidarity with someone other than just themselves. We see this is the vicious cycle, and that's why what we see is that we want to change this cycle. We want to create a sense of individual pride and awareness in the youth. And we want to do that by actually giving them economic empowerment, because we believe that once they realize that they can sustain themselves, they can create a viable living for themselves, that they're going to have respect for themselves. And when they have respect for themselves, they're going to respect their body. They're actually going to care about things like HIV and AIDS. And so that's why when they're actually a healthy adult, then they can contribute and have further economic empowerment, and together they can actually bring Africa out of its economic impoverishment. And so what we see as a solution to this problem is by microfinancing, particularly with an aim towards the youth of Tanzania.
Here we're dealing with a group of young people in Tanzania who don't have assets, who don't have collateral, which means that we don't really have any control over them if they don't pay back. They also don't have any credit history, so it's hard for us to evaluate them. So what we need to decide is that we want to do a mainly group basis. So here we can have over 5 people together, they can apply for a loan. Because these 5 people, over 5 people, they come probably from the same area, they know each other. So there will be a lot of peer pressure. These people apply for the loan together, and if one of them or a few of them default, the whole group is going to suffer from it. The loan gonna be terminated any time. But we don't want to just limit there, because we know some individuals, they may have very bright business ideas, and we don't want to limit them from getting a loan. So what we're gonna do is do advanced individual basis loan. And we also want to control the risk as well. So these people has to be successful, people graduate from a group loan before. So we already know their history, so we can trust them. So we're also going to assign a mentor, a teacher from a volunteer to talk with them, because these people, they don't have a lot of experience, that they may experience a lot of difficulties and problems during their startup time. And a very crucial point is that they have to deliver a regular report to us. So we have to know at every stage how their business is doing. If they didn't miss a few payments of interest, or their business is not doing as they're planned, we can terminate the loan at any moment. So it's kind of like a credit control for us.
And there's another strategy, which is to collaborate with related NGOs. As the case mentioned, actually there are several NGOs sharing the common goals and common like synergies with our NGOs. For example, the PTF, which is another major NGO in that area. The synergies could be created in several aspects. For example, they have experiences in microfinance industry, like which we don't have currently. Like we are transforming from a NGO targeting development to NGO targeting microfinance. So this could be very helpful to further reach our goals. And the second is we have actually very similar target groups. Like for PTF, they are targeting mainly young people and young women. Like over 90% of their target group are young adults. So we share the common interests. And also another major issue is we don't have enough human resources right now. We only have very limited staff and full-time members. So we are gonna with the help of that PTF, we are gonna create more human capital.
We identified that there are two major obstacles for SYDP to success in the microfinance project. The first one is the loan delinquency risk, because there is a high risk associated with moral hazard when you are using other people's money to do a new business. So we think that there are actually 5 possible solutions to this problem. First is the name or shame reward system. That is, no matter it's on a group or individual basis, if you success in repaying interest and principal, you will be publicized in the newsletters inside the youth center, as well as if you fail to repay any of the part of the lending. And second is the individual credit history profile. We will make it transferable among all microfinance NGOs inside Tanzania, which will be a very good surveillance to people who are using monies from our NGO. And also, we will make a business directory available to everybody in every youth center. That means it's kind of a peer group pressure that you can see what other people in your peer group is doing, and it helps to monitor who is doing well in what kinds of business. And finally, we think it's a very good reward for successful young entrepreneurs to share their successful stories with people who are now in the programs. And finally, there is actually success example from Bangladesh, the Nobel Prize winner, Grameen Bank, to solve similar problems. And the second major obstacle is resources constraints, which include both constraints in human resources and donors' fundings. Like my teammates have just mentioned, there are actually a couple of ways for us to expand the sources of our volunteers. And also, we think it's very important to appoint full-time employees, such as project managers and treasury and accountant, within current organization structure. Although our human resources is really tight, altogether there are only 7 employees at the moment. And lastly, we would like to talk about donors funding. The most important thing is to make our NGO accountable for like semi-annual report and youth testimonials, and invite donors to visit, and finally to get as much press exposure as possible. Finally, our team would like to say that this SYDP microfinance project will bring a healthy cycle for the youth in Tanzania, and will try to help them to come back to the fatal AIDS diseases.
I thought there were a lot of very, very interesting ideas. One question I have for you is that you started out by being very inspirational around how the virtuous circle around health, about financing, and so on and so forth. But you ended up with basically about 5 or 6 pages about how the SYPD would control and monitor, ensure those guys would not default, and name and shame, and make sure that if they don't work out, it doesn't work out, that everybody will know about it. Do you think by doing that would the youths actually still apply for this resource, whether it's for microfinancing? What gives you confidence that with so much kind of elaborate kind of control and monitor, and they would still actually be enthusiastic in applying?
Because we learned from the case that we are not the only NGO or only organization doing the microfinance in Tanzania. But still, we face a problem that not enough young people in Tanzania are getting the funds. Why? Because all these small NGO, they're not self-sustaining. They're not really functioning effectively. So we'll try to implement all these control strategies into our program, not because we want to discourage people, but we want to really make sure that this program is going to work. It's going to be self-sustainable, so people can really trust our organization. So once people have this confidence in our organization, I believe more people are going to be interested in joining us. And once people are interested in joining us, I believe that more people will get in, and we'll have growing our fund, and we'll be successful and self-sustaining.
And also, I want to re-emphasize a little bit on the training scheme of our organization. We actually do have training centers which will promote the idea of better financing, personal financing, like how to get fund and how to utilize them. And we think it's the key for the local, like Tanzania young adults to adapt to this idea. So it's gonna be like a brainwash thing for them to accept that this is a good thing, this is the hope for them, instead of giving them pressure that you have to pay back. Like, this is the emphasis we're gonna address.
Well, in addition, we not only have sticks for these young people, we also have carrots ahead of them. For example, the carrots means that if you have a very good credit profile with our organization, it's not only transferable to other microfinance NGOs, because currently we are the only one providing to these young people that we don't require them to put up a saving at the very first beginning. So we are kind of their ultimate source to lending. However, when going forward, if they are doing good with us, they will have the carrots that they will have a good credit history, then they can get even more financing from other organizations in the future. We think that's one of the major drivers for this youth to apply for our funding.
And they're not alone. They have their peers, their students they met during in the center, and also have mentors that help them all the way.